So for the past month or so, I have been practicing asking myself multiple times a day, what is your intention right now? That's a question that I've been asking myself, I don't know, maybe like 5 to 10 times a day for the past month. I've done this practice in one way or another many, many times, but I've never been able to fully grapple with it as well as I've been for the past month. I don't know why. Maybe it's the state of mind I'm in right now. Maybe it's just the right timing in general. Maybe it's the phrasing of it. So instead of asking myself, are you really present right now? Or what is your goal in this moment? Which are kind of questions I've asked myself in the past, or I've written on little, note cards and added to my desk to see and remember, because I definitely going to forget. These never work as well as the question, what is your true intention right now? Right? This is the question I ask myself multiple times a day. I do something and then I awaken to my sleepness and I ask, what is my true intention right now? I am doing this, but what is my true intention right now? And I haven't written it down anywhere, but I sort of remember. I don't know why I keep remembering to ask this question. Maybe it's important these days, but I do. And I found that now that I've been doing it for a long time, it is surprisingly illuminating what kind of patterns have emerged for me right now. I'm sure that you do this. If you did this practice 10 different times over 10 different years, you would find different patterns, right? Depending on what the season of your life or what's currently going on within and without you. But right now, there are mainly 3 patterns of answers that reappear. The first, when I ask myself, what is my true intention right now? The first type of answer that I get a lot is, at first I just described the activity. Well, I'm making myself some matcha tea. And they go, yeah, but what is your true intention of making yourself a matcha tea right now? Like, why are you making yourself a matcha tea right now? And then the answer often is because I'm trying to buy time and avoid doing this thing that I don't want to do. It's very common. And it doesn't matter if I'm reading a book and then I go, wait, why am I reading a book right now? What is my true intention in reading this book right now? First answer is always something like, well, I like the book and I want to keep reading and it's stimulating and creative. And then, yeah, but why am I reading right now? And then it's like, well, because I don't want to do the thing that I'm trying to avoid doing. And so I picked an activity that seemed okay for avoidance. So I would say that, I don't know what the percentage is, but my best guess right now is that maybe 40% of the time when I ask myself, why are you doing this thing right now? The answer is to avoid another thing, to avoid doing something else. It's been surprising to me. I know that, I avoid things all the time, but I didn't think that it would be quite that much. And it's in many little things. It hides in all kinds of tiny little activities, making a tea, reading a thing. Sometimes I open my inbox and I answer the email and then I go, wait a second, what is my intention in answering emails right now? And it's like, well, you don't want to do this other thing. It's like, it's never pretty. Like that's the kind of answer that never makes me happy or feel good about myself or particularly proud. And it's this inconvenient truth that glances back at me from this mirror that kind of takes away the fun of the avoidance. Once you shine a light on the avoidance, it's sort of besides the point. Like then what's the point of avoiding if I'm aware of it? Right? Yeah. It's no fun. That's a good amount. I would say that today I would think that the amount of avoiding I do is monumentally smaller than it used to be 5 years ago, but it's still so much. And what I've noticed is that it's hiding in areas where it's not as bombastic or big as I used to, right? Maybe I would used to avoid things by watching lectures on YouTube or by reading blog posts or by being on Twitter. I don't do any of this. But then it's today, my avoidance patterns are typically something like I'm writing to a friend or a family member. I'm reading a book. I am making myself something to eat or to drink in the kitchen. Like a lot of that stuff, I'm doing this not because right now I want a matcha tea or because right now I need to share this with a friend or because right now reading is the right thing for me to like relax and get stimulated, because I'm doing it to postpone and delay doing this other thing that I don't want to do. That's one big pattern. The next thing that comes up quite frequently, I would say maybe another 30% of the time, is the answer, I don't know. I'll go, what is your true intention in this very moment? And then I go, I don't know. And then I go, oh, isn't this interesting? Well, shake yourself, awake yourself, and then think, what do you want your intention to be? Like, what do you want to be right now and do? What do you really want with your whole heart? What do you want? And then I go, I don't know. And then I go, well, that's probably why you're doing this thing without, because you don't want to know, right? Because you don't want to go through the effort of awakening, of like waking up, of being intentional, of being aware. You're kind of like in this comfortable, sleepy in between state of mind. You're just being moved by the waves, the tides of time, right? Just like the momentum of life in the day is just moving you in one direction or another. And you're just like, do I have to really swim somewhere and have direction? Shit, where do I want to swim? To this island, back to the shore? Like I have to make a decision now. So quite often, I don't know. And then I'll have to wrestle a little bit to make a decision, right? To ask myself and awake myself to a decision and then take action on it. And then there's maybe 10% of the time, well, I'll ask myself this question where it's just a reconfirmation, but it's very rare. I find that when I do something with great intentionality, I don't have to ask myself that question. Right? The question arises out of an instinct that I'm not intentional at this moment. That's why I ask, right? That's why the question is asking itself through me. That's why it bubbles up. But when I have great intention, I already know. I don't need to ask the question. Like I'm fully aware of why and how and what I'm doing. But once in a while, it still happens. It's more of a little moment of rejoicing and being happy because I'm thinking, wow, isn't it beautiful? I'm doing this thing with all my heart. I'm doing this thing with all my mind. I'm doing this because I want it and it's great. And then more rarely, and it's kind of a mix between I'm avoiding other things and a little mindless and don't know, I'll ask myself, what's my intention in doing this? And the answer will be, well, I'm responding to someone else. I didn't really decide to do this. Somebody else decided by calling me or by writing to me, like stimulating me in some way, or reaching out to me and asking me for something. And because I was not aware enough, not awake enough, I kind of lost myself in just instantly responding, reacting, and then kind of swimming in their currents, right? Until eventually I go, wait a second, why am I here? Well, I don't know. Bob asked me a questions, and then an hour later, I'm swimming in his waters towards his house. I'm like, wait a second, is this really where I want to go? This is Bob's swim. Like, this is not where I was supposed to go. That happens not often, but it does happen repeatedly. I'm sure there's other things. Oh, there's one other use case that I can think of, or pattern at least, that I can think of where I'll ask myself, what is my intention of doing this right now? And the answer is a mixture of, well, I'm following my duty or responsibility. You know, a simple example, I'll promise I'm going to go and pick up the kids from school. As I'm driving to school, at some point during the drive, my thoughts are all over the place. I'm driving, but I'm also kind of thinking many, many different thoughts. And at some point, the question will bubble up and I go, what's my intention right now? And I go, well, I have to go and pick up the kids, right? I've given my word. This is a task I need to perform. And so I'm performing it. And then I go, yeah, but what is the intention in doing this? Like, what could be the best intention I could have? Well, to see my children, to love them, to embrace them, maybe on the way there to practice gratitude for having children, for them being healthy, for me having the opportunity to see them today. And then it sort of shifts from I'm just doing my duty, or I'm just mechanically kind of performing this thing because it has to be done, to how could I do it really well? How could I do it with great intention in my heart, like with great attitude, with great awareness, with great presence. And then I take that and it kind of elevates. I still do the same thing, but it kind of sort of elevates the way I do it, the way I perform the task. And then I forget again. And then eventually either I remember or I won't. And it will bubble up and become a little practice again of remembering the next time that question arises. But it is such a simple question. It is not some magical technique, but it is incredibly illuminating. It's just every time that question bubbles up in me, it's sort of like oh yeah, I'm avoiding something. And now I know completely and fully, and I can't avoid it the same way anymore. God damn it. Okay. And it goes back to something we've been talking about for years now, that it is completely independent of the task you're doing. Like, I can read a really philosophical or sophisticated or beautiful spiritual book. It doesn't matter, because my intention is to avoid something that I need to do, right? So now this beautiful task of reading a beautiful book is as guttery and shitty as, playing video games or, I don't know, watching TV shows or eating ice cream. I mean, it's still a little better because I would suspect that I wouldn't ask myself this question if the kind of task that I'm involving myself with in avoidance wouldn't be so quiet, right? Making yourself a tea or reading a book. It's much easier for you to go, what am I doing and why, than eating ice cream and watching a movie, right? That's kind of harder to break out of and awaken to. But it doesn't really matter. As a human, I'll always find ways to avoid. I'll always slip into unawareness. Most of my day, I will be unaware. These moments, like I've never been more present and aware than I am now in my life. And it's an accumulation of, 20 minutes a day, 15. Some days it's 2. Right? Maybe there's a day where I had it for half an hour, but we're talking minutes, a couple of minutes here, a couple of minutes there. And it's like a world apart from how my life felt, when it was, instead of 20 minutes a day, maybe just 1 minute, or many days at 0. So it's not some sort of a state that is solid and I can maintain, but it's a coming back, like swimming back to this little place where you can just hold on to yourself in full awareness and relax a little bit and go, oh yeah, I'm swimming. This is kind of fun. Okay, I feel ready to go back. And then you just keep swimming again versus being lost in the ocean and having nothing to rest at, nothing to hold on to, nothing solid at any point. So it's been a really beautiful practice asking myself, what is my true intention in this very moment? Like, what is my intention right now? And oftentimes it's, I don't know. I'm doing this to avoid something else. Actually, these two are most of it. Well, I'm just doing the thing because I'm doing it, which comes back to either, I don't know. If you really dig a little deeper, you come back to the, I'm avoiding something else. The amount of avoiding and being clueless in my day are, surprisingly large. The amount of times where what I do is because I don't know and because I don't want to do the thing I really need to. It's incredible. So I've been enjoying this practice. And this is definitely something that I've now started even seeing or pondering, not just solo for myself, but I start when I interact with people to just ponder, what is our intention in this moment? Like, why are we together here? Why are we doing this? What is really what we're trying to get to? And sometimes I'll ask myself this with somebody else, somebody asking me something, talking to me, and I go, what is the true intention right now? What do they really want? Do they know? Do I know? So it's a beautiful practice of remembering. It's like we keep forgetting most of our life, most of our day. This is sort of a good little coming back to being a bit more aware, a bit more present. What is truly my intention right now?